MC and we just go for the prayer of blessings to everyone of us meeting for the next few days. Ali, good talk. Good morning. I welcome you all to Palau. This is your first time. I hope you get to see a little bit of outside of the hotel and see a little bit of Palau. Ambassador City is trying to organize something for you to see a little bit of Palau. Still having the dialogue to address this very important issue. But first, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and warmly welcome Her Excellency Ambassador Richard Turner of Australia. Thank you for gracing us this morning. Ms. Lechen Sering, Regional Director and Representative from the UNEP Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. I understand it's your first time in Palau, and so welcome, and I hope you'll be impressed with the work that UNEP has done to help Palau keep Palau Palau. Also acknowledging the presence of Dr. Philemon Manoni, the new Ocean Commissioner. He's here in Palau scoping his new office space, and his team who are here this morning. And also acknowledging Director General Zephaniah Nawandra from the SPREP and his team for organizing, putting this meeting together. I just returned from Environment Ministers meeting in Colombo about 2 weeks ago, where I saw Director Sering and Director General Nawandra. And the focus of that conversation revolves around addressing the triple planetary crisis: climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. This is a continuation of that dialogue, where we focused on one of the key contributor to climate change as well as biodiversity loss, which is plastics. The production of plastics contribute to global warming as well, and we see and we know specific islanders we've seen and experience how plastic impacts not only the beauty of the islands but marine animals and marine life that is important to the health of our oceans. And so, colleagues, I'm pleased to see all of us gathered here today to dialogue about our shared challenges as big ocean states who are at the front line of the impacts of plastic pollution. I hope that as island countries we can come together on positions to help us achieve an effective international legally binding instrument to address the global plastic pollution. So while Palau is chair of PCITS, if you notice that I'm not using small island, I'm using big ocean states, because we are indeed a big ocean state. And from what I've heard, we need to change that mindset from looking at us as being small to looking at us as being a big ocean state, stewards of large resources that contribute not only to global food security, as we provide and contribute over 50% of global supply of tuna, but we also hold what we can do to ensure a healthy ocean that is also important to addressing climate change. And so we must strive for a paradigm shift to effectively end plastic pollution, including in the marine environment, and to achieve such an ambitious
goal, we need adequate provisions of means of implementation, particularly considering our special circumstances and limited capabilities. And so I hope in the next 3 days of your dialogue that we as Big Ocean state communities will be ready to participate and actively engage in the upcoming INC3 to ensure that our voices are heard and reflect in this future instrument. So good luck in your dialogue for the next 3 days. And I sincerely hope that you get to enjoy a little bit of Palau. Thank you.
I'd like to now call upon Her Excellency, Ms. Rochelle Turner, the Ambassador from Australia to Palau, to give the welcome remarks, to give her opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Ali, thank you very much, MC. I'm Rochelle Turner, the Australian Ambassador, and I've enjoyed the spoils of Palau for the last 3 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 years remaining here in Palau, particularly the R&R bit. I would also like to extend and acknowledge everyone that's here today, including the Honourable Minister Stephen Victor from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and the Environment. I'd also like to extend that acknowledgement to Her Excellency Alana Seed, the Palau Ambassador to the Permanent Mission in the UN, and the Palau team. I'd also like to extend that respect to the Director General, Mr. Naranda, and I had the pleasure actually several years ago of working with his younger sister Melania in Suva, so please pass on my regards to Mel. Dr. Manoni, welcome to Palau. As the Pacific Ocean Commissioner, I look forward to visiting your office in the months to come, and congratulations on your position. And to Ms. Tsring, apologies for the pronunciation there, the Regional Director and Representative from UNEP. Lovely to meet you this morning. I'd like to also extend a warm welcome to all of those who are representing Pacific Island communities here today. It's great to see you all. Thank you, SPREP, for inviting me to speak today about the significant issue of plastic pollution in our region. I'm pleased that Australia is partnering with SPREP to deliver this important workshop as part of our broader support to ensure we, as the Pacific, have a strong voice in negotiations towards the new plastic pollution treaty. Plastic pollution is a major issue for our region. It impacts our ecosystems, fisheries, coastal tourism, human health, shipping and trade. We understand the urgency of the plastics challenge facing our planet and oceans, and are committed to being a full partner in the global fight to solve it. Australia is firmly committed to negotiating an ambitious, legally binding instrument to end plastic pollution. A strong global response is urgently required to stem the flow of plastics into our oceans, to improve ocean health and ensure a sustainable ocean economy. The treaty will be critical to achieving plastic pollution-free Pacific, an ambition of our Environment Minister, Ms. Tanya Plibersek. Australia is also pleased to be a member of the High Ambition Coalition to End Plastic Pollution, and we join Fiji, Palau, New Zealand, RMI and others advocating for the shared goal of ending plastic pollution by 2040. We seek an instrument that addresses the full life cycle of plastics, promotes a safe circular economy, eliminates problematic and unnecessary plastics, and accelerates the removal of harmful chemicals from product supply chains. Australia is also taking significant steps to manage plastic pollution at home and transition to a more circular plastics economy. We are phasing out problematic single-use plastics. We are introducing mandatory packaging design standards to ensure all packaging is designed to be recovered, reused, recycled or reprocessed safely in line with circular economy principles. We are investing in new recycling facilities so that we can increase Australia's plastic recycling rates. We are developing a national framework to direct Australia's transition to a circular economy. Across our region, Australia is a member of the Australian, New Zealand and Pacific Island Countries Plastics Pact, or ANZPAC. By working together and combining our knowledge and our experience, we hope this will lead to a regional circular economy for plastic packaging. We are also partnering with SPREP to reduce marine plastic litter through the $16 million Pacific Ocean Litter Project, or POLP, which is working with Pacific Island countries to refuse, reduce and find alternatives to single-use plastics, including at the 2023 Pacific Games in Honiara next month. I'm pleased to see that the POLP team is here this week to discuss potential projects to reduce or find alternatives to single-use plastics in Palau. Together, we have a collective responsibility to ensure our region's interests are reflected in the new global instrument on plastic pollution. We all have a vital role to play in the negotiations. We will all be that strong voice for the Pacific. There will be differing opinions, and I encourage you not to lose sight of our ultimate objective to end plastic pollution in the Pacific and globally. I wish you all the very best for a productive workshop this week and for productive negotiations in Nairobi and beyond. I'm also sure that the Ambassador Alana Seed will offer you a little bit of an excursion across Palau. But to the productive workshop, I wish you all the very best and thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Mesalam. Thank you.
I'd like to now call upon Dr. Philemon Manoni, the Pacific Ocean Commissioner, OPOC, to give his opening remarks. Welcome home, Dr. Philemon.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. I am limping a bit this morning because I still think I can play rugby. Unfortunately, congratulations to quarterfinalists at the Rugby World Cup, Fiji, and our Commiserations Ambassador for the Wallabies. Thank you. Minister Stephen Victor, Ambassador, Director General Stephanie Nawandra, senior officials, Ali, and good morning to everyone. I am indeed very pleased to be here with you today in pristine Palau. I would like to, of course, first of all, thank our host, the government and the people of Palau, for the warm welcome. Also, to recognize Excellency Ambassador Elena, permanent representative of Palau to the UN, and for your leadership demonstrated in the past 10 months for the group in New York, and also including work in this process. To all of you, your presence here today, despite a very busy schedule, demonstrates your Palau's commitment to this important process. May I also take this opportunity to thank the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, Director General Sefa Nawandra for his leadership, and to his team for organizing this workshop and for inviting OPOC to share a few thoughts. And of course, to all of us here today, thank you for your presence and continuing to be driven in this process to find solutions to the plastics crisis. So friends, we often like to say in our remarks how the meeting we are addressing is very important. Today, when I say that this gathering is important, it is not just to be gracious to everyone that I have acknowledged this morning, but it is because we have a crisis, a plastic crisis that requires the concerted effort from all of us, from everyone, and at all levels. Some estimates say that approximately 14 million tons of plastics end up in our oceans every year, which some say that this will double by 2060 under the current business as usual approach. As the Pacific Oceans Commissioner, I do have the health of our oceans at heart. I am sure you all do as well. So, and that is why I am very happy to join you this morning and to share a few words at the invitation of Director General Sefa. The plastic pollution, including in our ocean, has repercussions far beyond the debris-ravaged beaches or the dramatic pictures of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It represents a tremendous public cost in terms of waste management and potentially undermines the critical economic sectors of our societies, including tourism and fisheries, for example. Most importantly, plastic pollution in the ocean, in the water, and in soil and air is a threat to human health. It is said that nowhere on earth is untouched by plastic, not even a mother's womb. And this is why this meeting and the process you are engaging is so critical. Epeli, however, reminded us that the oceans has been our connector between our sea of islands. Through traditional navigations, our communities have built strong ties over the centuries. Migratory species who are not only keystone species, but also family guardians and clan totems have been able to visit our shores and guide us in our daily lives. Currents establish connectivity between the various ecosystems. The ocean connects past generations with those yet to come. Unfortunately, this ocean connectivity also means that a bag of chips blown away close to the riverbank in East Asia and find itself on the rock islands in Palau. That is the flip side of this ocean connectivity that all of us are witnessing firsthand. The world has never been as much connected as it is now. This meeting, for example, was enabled both by internet connections as well as flight travels. There are an awful lot of plastic involved in this technology and many more that have contributed to making our modern lives a lot easier, more convenient, more comfortable. The question is, what is the price for that? At what price? The usefulness of invention of plastic cannot be an argument or justification to lessen the ambition of what the future treaty should look like. Like all planetary crises, the effects are felt locally. The responses must be global and universal. The scale of this crisis requires nothing more than a revolution. As Minister Victor has also alluded to, it requires a paradigm shift. A revolution in how we can engage with one another and valuing our value systems. So the onus is often put on the individual consumer. Certainly, customers, informed customers, have some power. Consumers, even groups of consumers, will not alone put a dent in the system. Individual efforts may be a droplet in this vast ocean, but it will certainly have a rippling effect, especially consumers from the Pacific Islands. We still need to be agents of the paradigm shift, of that revolution. We need activists to demand that we think critically and act responsibly. We need experts. We need the science to raise the alarm bells and to advise us together with the wisdom of traditional knowledge holders towards innovative solutions that are planet and people positive. The private sector, from all sectors, need to rethink their business, the methodologies, the impacts. Government will need to start thinking about how to remodel or make trade to ensure sustainability, the environment are taken into account. More importantly, we need governments to work and to demand actions from the private sector and partners. We need commitment from governments to lead this work. The one country, one vote, and the great Indo-Pacific rivalries, great tools for this revolution, if we are willing to lead it. This whole of government responsibility must come to the fore. Ultimately, the choice belongs to us, and we must respect that. I appreciate the responsibility in these negotiations, and in my former life as AG in the Marshall Islands, I understand too well on how important it is to ensure that when you engage in international negotiations, that you have to constantly think about whether you are safeguarding the interests of your country. I might have alarmed all of you with the talk of revolution, but I can only have faith that you are in the driver's seat, because you know best what it is for your countries. And we are always here to support. As the Commissioner, I engage with different stakeholders who also have different interests and priorities. Sometimes those are complementary, but many times there are interest conflicts. But for effective oceans governance, and for the sake of ocean and our people who depend on it, it is always important to ensure that we hear from the different stakeholders. We must be, I believe, inclusive in our decisions. And I think it is a risk if we do not. But our leaders understood this, and they created the Pacific Oceans Alliance as a network of ocean stakeholders. They include representatives of your governments, regional organizations, including SPREP, civil society, private sector, and partners. When the Zero Draft was released, we released a call to members of the POA. Some interesting contributions were shared, which were shared with your teams. What was most valuable was the interest we sensed from the stakeholders in knowing more about the process and how they can contribute. But the POA is not a decision-making forum. It is a place to debate ideas and confront views and attempt to find solutions to the many challenges that the Pacific Ocean faces. I see its value and to hear the views and expertise from different perspectives, and be happy to think that it will be a mechanism that could support in the process. But in conclusion, I would like to say that you have time and again demonstrated that the special circumstances that have made SEEDS a special case for sustainable development and not obstacle to progress, leadership, and innovation. And with that, I wish you a very productive meeting in the next couple of days. And thank you, DG Seva, for the invitation to share a few words with you this morning. Thank you. That's it.
I'd like to now call upon Dechen Tesen, the Regional Director and representative of the Regional Office for Asia and Pacific, to come and give opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Tony. Excellency Minister Stephen Victor, Dr. Philemon Manoni, DG Sifanaya Nawatra, Ambassador Turner, Ambassador Saeed, distinguished colleagues, senior officials, it really is a pleasure for me to be here in Palau. And the next few days I'm really going to be here just to listen. And also, if there are technical areas, I have technical teams who are able to come in if there are technical issues that you would like, some advice on or some expertise. So we've talked a lot about how this is once in a lifetime opportunity to end plastic pollution. We've talked about opportunities, and we've looked at poverty alleviation, business models, new jobs, new market opportunities, new designs, materials, and products. The INC3 really we're looking at an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. And when we talk about the INC, we always forget, including in the marine environment somehow seems lost. And I think it's important that we bring it back. There's been reference already to the zero draft, and we're looking at INC3 really as a crucial milestone to advance consideration, understanding, articulation of some of the main elements of a future legally binding instrument, and for the first text-based negotiations. So what INC 1 and 2, the elements were taken in the zero draft. Talking to the chair, the hope for INC 3 is that member states will move swiftly to substantive discussions. There are already quite a few discussions in terms of rules of procedure. The hope is that INC 3 will give a mandate to the chair and the secretariat to prepare a first draft text based on the zero draft, reflecting progress the committee has made at INC 3 for consideration at INC 4. The zero draft does not aim to describe in detail the role and scope of the legally binding instruments. And here really, during the negotiations, member states have said they want to address the full life cycle of plastic pollution, to protect human health and environment, to pay special attention to unique circumstances, and to look at sort of the means of implementation, the finance, technology, capacity building. At INC 3, you will agree upon the nature of the treaty, its legally binding instruments, legally binding elements. And if you look at MEAs, other MEAs, and you look at the Basel Convention on controlling transboundary movement of hazardous waste and their disposals, it's based on countries aligning national policies with goals of the convention, but it also has legally binding elements, for example, regulation of waste trade. So in this region, we're looking at a very diverse range of countries. We're looking at major producers, major consumers, and we're also looking at some of the most populous nations in the world and some of the least populous nations. We, on the margins of, and Minister Stephen Victor is on the Bureau of the 5th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific. And on the margins of the ministerial forum, we had the Asia Pacific regional consultations. And this was, of course, the co-chairs of the Bureau, Jordan, Mr. Mohammad Pashane, and Mr. Ono-san from Japan led the consultations. There was discussions in terms of a position paper from the Asia Pacific states that will be sent to the UNEA 6. There wasn't consensus, but there was an agreement that there would be a process at member states which actually discuss a position paper from this group. From the other aspect, and maybe here I speak a little bit on behalf of UNEP and not the INC Secretariat, we're really looking at a process whereas you get a lot of dialogue, and we've heard a lot from the different sort of constituencies, including science, the private sector. And the more dialogue we get, it's important because once we have, and INC 5, the last INC will of course happen in in the Republic of Korea and the Asia Pacific region. We also have the next UNEA president from the Asia Pacific regional group, and I do hope that you will have some opportunity to start to think about who will be the next president of UNEA 7, and there will be an input into this process from the Asia Pacific regional groups and from the Pacific. I think the chair of the INC process, ambassador, says that there will be a preparatory meeting, and he will also have an opportunity to discuss the work at the intersessional period. I think the faster we are able to actually start, once we have a legally binding instrument, start implementation instead of putting forward elements to be further negotiated. I think the faster we can go with implementation is important, and for that purpose, the more voices we have together, I think becomes really important. I'm based in Thailand, UNEP Asia Pacific office, and I don't know, we have a sub-regional office based in Samoa. UNEP Asia Pacific, we cover 41 countries, and we stand ready to provide any support. In discussions with many colleagues around the table, what I'm a little bit alarmed with is some of the travel routes you'll take to travel to UNEP meetings. I've heard about colleagues traveling through Islamabad and Dhaka, going back down to Brisbane and coming up to the Philippines. So please do reach out to the UNEP Asia Pacific office if you do have complicated travels getting to Nairobi and back. But with this, thank you very much for inviting me to be able to listen to you here today. Thank you.
I'd like to now call upon our Director General for SPREP, Mr. Stephanie Nawandra, to give his thank you and also remarks.
Thank you, Tony. Always have to go after all these fine speakers, because most of the things have been covered. So maybe I should start with the thank yous, because that's what I'm really supposed to be doing. I'd like to thank Palau initially for your leadership in leading us in this endeavor. I know the transition from Samoa to Palau, like any transition, will take a while to balance ourselves out. But now I think we are going ahead full speed, and I know that we will do well in the partnership of working together. I'd like to thank also the group from New York. You know, it's not only the Palau mission, there's also FSM and someone else. Samoa, sorry. As chair of SIDS, because that's the other complication we have as SPREP and as CROP at the moment, with all the MEAs, that we need to serve both PSIDS and AOSIS to a certain extent. So it's an interesting time for us as a CROP, but it's a good, interesting time because we can help our work in the region as well as the agenda of SIDS through our current leadership of AOSIS. I know Palau will take that up in a year and a half's time, I think. And I know the close work that we're doing now will help us when that change does happen. I'd also like to thank Australia for the funding to carry out these preparatory processes that we've had. I know they've been very useful, both for Uruguay, where we had the one pre-COP, and then we changed slightly for INC2, where we had one in Rarotonga, and then we had a refresher in Paris just before. So that's one thing to remember. For you who are here, you're not here for yourself, you're here for your country. So if you're not going to come to Nairobi, it's important to pass on what you take from here to those who will be there. Because sometimes circumstances don't allow us to have the same people to come, and we need to continue to go what the trajectory we're going right now. Thank you for the Oceans Commissioner. I think it's great that we're here at the same time you're looking at your new home. Must be a good omen. When you reached out to us, to all of us in Nandi, like I said then, I was humbled by your honesty and offered to help you as much as we can. And that offer, you know, stands. So we will help the Oceans Office as much as we can. That said, thank you for continuing to be a good friend and coming over here. And we know we will continue to work together on this and count on UNEP's assistance when we need it. And thank you also to our partners, to the EIAs, the CLs who are here, and the ones who are not. I think Karen, Tricia, who have given a lot of their time at their own expense to help us. And I want to acknowledge everything that you continue to do. If I haven't mentioned any of the other groups, please take the acknowledgement. I also want to thank the crop teams. Some are here, some are not here, but I think it's something that we continue to do. It's why we were brought into existence. We're here to serve our members as technical advisors and agencies. Sometimes we tend to forget that, but one thing I said myself when I took on leadership of SPREP was to say that in my time we will never forget. We will always be here to serve our members. And that's how we've conducted business since then. I want to introduce also Dale, who's our North Pacific manager. He is here to help us engage better with North Pacific to continue the work that Kilom had started. Just some thoughts on what we need to do. I was in Bangkok last week for the plastic summit. And in one of the panels I mentioned there's a certain sense of deja vu that I had between this INC process and the climate change INC process. I think I'm one of the only 5 people remaining in the Pacific who was involved with that. But the reason why it's similar is that we have similar interests. There's a big carbon lobby, oil lobby behind a lot of the things in climate change that are there in plastics. We have countries who are also involved in listening to that block. I think that was apparent in Paris, where we went round and round in circles for 2 whole days before we got to substance. And then the other one is from our own countries. I think our own countries initially didn't understand the importance of this process. And it was the same for climate change. I was a principal officer at the Environment Department then. So when I was supposed to go to the INC, I went to Foreign Affairs to ask them, what's my instructions? There was this ex-colonial guy, Mr. Ian Perks, who was head of protocol. He had his glasses on. What do you want? I almost sat down on the floor. Then I've come to get my instructions. And he told me, why have you come to ask me? You know better than us, you're going to make it up when you're there. So that's what I saw in some of the things in Uruguay, because some of the negotiators who came didn't have the mandate to negotiate. And that's a point I want to stress. It doesn't matter how much we prepare, if you're not able to negotiate, then it's useless. And that's what happened in Paris. I saw too many people, too many countries not ready to negotiate. So it's something we need to correct. And make sure that you get the backing from your governments when you come. because this opportunity will not come around again. That's one thing too we need to remember, where we are within the process. We're in the negotiation stage. The implementation stage is different. Don't let the implementation stage color your negotiations. Because at the negotiation stage, that's a chance for us to raise the ambition. That chance will never come around again. If we lose that, don't complain later. And the reason we pushed this within UNEA was because we wanted this opportunity. Now we've got it, we need to make sure we take it. I hope I don't sound too harsh. I know I've overstepped my international civil service boundary, but it's because I care about this process. I know how much it means for us. So we need to make sure we do that. There's a need to share the load. In Paris, Uruguay, only a few countries were carrying the load. Those countries, you know who you are. Who haven't been carrying the load, you need to step up. Because this needs all of us in order to make it successful. And just to let you know, for the 2050 strategy, the Cook Islands meeting, there will be 9 partnerships for prosperity tabled by the Cook Islands government. One of them is on this process, on the High Ambition Coalition. So hopefully by the time you go to Nairobi, you will have the highest level mandate from our leaders that this is the position we want to take, the high ambition road. Because if we're not in the high ambition, then we're in the low ambition. I think that's to help you as negotiators take this forward. And I thank the Cook Islands for working with us to make that happen. The other final thing is with the principles. I think you've got the zero draft and there's a separate paper on the principles. That in some ways is more important than the zero draft. Because without the principles set properly, everything else collapses. So we need to concentrate that we keep the city special case, we keep the polluter pays, we keep all these essential principles that flow on to what goes into the instrument itself. I hope that we will keep all the various things that have been raised in mind when we prepare, and look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week here and in Nairobi next month. Thank you very much.
Please, if I could also ask our delegates to please show a hand of appreciation to our speakers this morning. We have shared their